In 1981, when I won the title of world champion, was responsible for wrestling approximately 350 to 365 days a year. And many times, the first 5 years I was the champion, I wrestled more times than there were days in the year because the schedule was that demanding. And the country at that point in time was split into about 11 different promotions, all of them charter members of the NWA, and I traveled weekly to a different part of the country or world and wrestled and defended the title against the very best wrestler that promotion had, and that worked that way for years.
What do you think, going back to those days, what do you think was a couple of your greatest matches? Was it with the Jack Briscoe? Was it with the Dory Funk? Was it with the Dusty Rhodes?
I'd have to be honest with you. There are so many great matches, many thrilling moments with guys like going back to Harley Race, Funk, Briscoe, Rhodes, the Great Bruiser Brody, Dusty Rhodes, Sting, Luger. I mean, the 70s or the 80s were by far the greatest years and times that I spent in the business.
Well, we have Dan now on the line. Dan, what's your question for Nation Boy Ric Flair?
Yes, Ric Flair, how do you feel about CEO Eric Bischoff, non-NWO, just Eric Bischoff?
Well, he's not CEO. I'm going to correct you on that right out of the chute. He was the executive director for World Championship Wrestling, but as you know, Dr. Harvey Schiller pulled the plug on him. Right now, he is zero. He's only with the NWO. Ric Flair, what's your sense of what's going on with Eric Bischoff right now with a lot of his power stripped?
Well, I think that he's having a hard time coping with it personally. I think that he thought he had everything in line and that he was going to be able to call the shots forever, and I think that he made a very political mistake when he thought that he could override a guy with the power of Dr. Schiller, and especially with a company of the magnitude of Turner Broadcasting.
I don't understand his intellect. When he comes back, the only thing he can say to the powers that be is, "Let me, give me a break."
Well, he took those speech lessons, Gene, those Dale Carnegie courses. They finally paid off big time. Rick, there's a question in the chat room from some guy, the Hitman. I don't know why you would use a lame name like that to be involved with wrestling, frankly. It seems to be the kind of guy that might pull hair in a tight spot if it came down to that. But, however, he wants to know, is anything going on between you and Medusa? That rumor's flying hot and heavy.
I heard that today at the in the lobby of the hotel.
Actually, I've never heard that rumor.
I
have the utmost respect for her. I think she's a tremendous athlete, a tremendous wrestler. I feel badly for the loss. Yeah, for the loss that she incurred last night. But as you all know, I was in a retirement match myself at one time, so her career's not over. And I think that down the line you'll see Medusa back in action, and she's a girl with a lot of class and a lot of style.
But there's no romantic link between you
and
Medusa.
Not whatsoever.
How about between you and your plastic surgeon, perhaps?
None whatsoever.
Here's another question, Gene, before we move on. We've had a ton of comments on the chat room. What's going on with Double A, Arn Anderson? Ric Flair's longtime partner in the Four Horsemen and a good friend of Gene and Ric Flair, I might add.
Well, as everybody knows, Arn had very, very serious neck surgery. It's been almost 3 months ago now. And I think that people fail to realize that when the surgeon got in, he found much more extensive damage than had been preliminarily thought about, and the surgery required a lot more time. And the recuperation period, if he's ever able to come back, will be at least a year from now, is what I'm told.
I don't think it's any secret, Rick, Mark, that Arn Anderson is also a very big part of the behind-the-scenes operation of World Championship Wrestling. I have tremendous respect for his judgment. Hopefully, before getting back into the ring, we can get him back into the loop and backstage helping us back here in the locker rooms, the dressing rooms of World Championship Wrestling. He's got a great mind for this business.
One of the best.
Rick, a question from 5-0 in the chat room. Is there any wrestler you're currently mentoring or any young guy you think is going to be the next big thing in WCW and professional wrestling anywhere, I suppose?
Oh, gosh, that's hard to say. I've been asked that question a lot. There are a lot of great wrestlers that are I guess you would call young guys coming along. And to say that one's going to be the next Ric Flair or the next Hulk Hogan or the next Randy Savage or whoever we're all being compared against, which happens daily, it would be unfair to say. There are a lot of good young wrestlers out there, and I think that the future is great for a lot of them.
On the subject of some individuals you may be mentoring here in World Championship Wrestling, one of the current Four Horsemen, Chris Benoit. What do you think of this young man's talent and ability?
Phenomenal. I think that Chris Benoit can go as far as he elects to go in this sport. He's got a tremendous physique. He has tremendous endurance. He has tremendous strength. And I think that Chris Benoit is one of these guys that remains hungry no matter how much success he enjoys.
I'm not going to blow smoke up anybody's keister here, but Ric Flair, the last couple of outings I've seen, particularly those one-on-ones with Scott Hall, I must say, you look like the nature boy of old, and they can talk about age, but you are ageless, my friend. You look spectacular in the opening moments of that match in Moline at the Great American Bash.
Well, thank you very much. You know, it's funny. I said it would take about a month, maybe 6 weeks for me to get back in the great shape that I hope to be in when I did start out wrestling again. And I feel like I'm right on track to be probably in the best shape I've ever been within the next 2 weeks.
We have a call here. We have a call here, Gene, if we could interject.
Yes, we do.
Here, Dave, you're on with Gene, Mark, and Nature Boy Ric Flair. What's on your mind, kid?
Yeah, hi, Rick. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Not bad. I just want to know, how do you think about Kevin Nash personally? Like, not as record, just like, you know, out of the ring.
I don't know him to tell you whether I like him or don't like him, or what I think of him. I've never had an opportunity to be around him socially.
You know what Piper thinks of him?
No.
I don't?
No, I don't think Piper was ever around him either. You know, in our sport, it's very hard to be around anybody on a real serious basis because you never know when you have to wrestle somebody.
I think what he's alluding to, Rick, is the fact that a week ago tonight up in Boston, Kevin Nash did come through a door to get to Piper. Obviously, a difference of opinion what occurred out of the ring at the Fleet Center in Boston, Mass. I think probably that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, and I there again, I think that from being a personal basis to being a business. I've seen that happen in the business more than once. Unfortunately, things like that probably happen more than the people are aware of. But there again, I don't know that I could form a personal opinion of a guy based on what I saw him do one night either.
We all know about egos. Mark Magnus.
Rick, one question, too, a lot of people are asking about. There is, of course, the rumor Shawn Michaels currently not wrestling for anyone. You know, his contract is not being used by either the promotion or him, no matter what. What do you think of Shawn Michaels? You've always spoken highly of him in the past. You worked with him briefly in the past. What do you think of him right now?
I think he's a tremendous, tremendous performer. Always has been, always will be. I think that he had propensity to get hurt a little bit years ago, and he's gotten past that. You know, the key to being, and I've always told anybody,
Stay healthy.
The key to being successful in this business and being successful for the long run is staying healthy. And outside that knee injury that he had recently, I think that he's kept himself pretty healthy, and there's no doubt about the fact that he's got the physical tools to be one of the greats of all time.
On the subject of the WWF, I had an opportunity to work with you for a year and a half there. Your tenure there, short-lived. But of that experience, what are your thoughts?
Gosh, you know, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but the year and a half I spent in the WWF was one of the best periods of my life because I was fortunate enough to go there. I started out by wrestling Piper. I went from Piper to Bret Hart, from Bret Hart to Macho Man, and then I wrestled Hogan in between all three. And what more, one of the main reasons I went up there was because of the political problems I was having with the old regime here. And I walked into an ideal situation because the four biggest players that had ever wrestled there, Hogan, Piper, Savage, and Hart, were all guys that I had an opportunity to wrestle.